Steven and Larry, and we're talking Swish.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to episode B for Talking Swish here the week of July 6th. It's Larry here along with Steven Dykman and the newest member, a part of the podcast, Duy. How are we doing, Duy?
Doing well on this wonderful Tuesday night.
Yep, this obviously is going to be coming to people on Friday, but
Mm.
we don't have time during the week to be doing it that short close together. So, of course, we're here on a Tuesday enjoying life and talking some modern. We, in the previous episode, the little short summarized version of our podcast that we do, we took a deep dive into some of the events coming up, the format, some of the decks we liked, and we also dug into the over the weekend they had some modern challenges. Steven did a good little deep dive into one of the challenges for us. Dewey's going to actually be taking a deep dive here for the second one. So Dewey, why don't we just go ahead and jump right into it? We don't need to really hammer the introduction any more than that. So go ahead, shoot it off.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
You are unacceptable. You should be ready.
So the first place deck was the blue-red deck. And this deck has been doing very well. It's the Ragavan, Dragon's Rage Channeler, and Murktide. Those four seems to be in every single one of these blue-red variants. And then beyond that, it's doing that classic Delver style strategy of you're playing a very, very cheap threat. You're backing it with tons of counters, tons of interaction, and it is an all-star. The other thing that they're doing is whether or not they play the Murktide will depend on if they play the Lurrus. If they play the Lurrus in the side, they obviously have to cut the Murktide, but then they play other cheap threats as well, usually leaning towards a slightly more aggressive build. So yeah, that deck's just been doing very well. And we had indicated it was the all-star this weekend. Next up is the Crashing Footfalls deck. The Crashing Footfalls deck, as Steven talks about, is the one that's doing the Violent Outburst, and then it's getting, or the Shardless Agent into the Crashing Footfalls to create a bunch of 4/4s. A couple of them are doing what this deck is doing, which is splashing white, so they can also pick up Ardent Please, which is another cascading enchantment, so they can get into it, or Teferi, so then they can possibly bounce that back to the hand, reset it, also good against other or mirror matches. So, and then beyond that, it just plays like a solid control deck, holding thing counters up. And I think one of the coolest things that this deck got to take advantage of was the new change in rules on mana cost. So you can actually get past your Dead and Gones, your Fire and Ices, and still be able to take advantage of those cheaper spells that you used to not be able to. If you hit that 2-drop, you'd be casting it, which would mess up your Cascade effect. After that, speaking of Cascade, we have Living End. And this is your classic Living End. Now, they have gone, you're used to seeing that as a Jund variant. You have seen this go to a more of a blue-black variant, and then they're splashing things like green or red, but it predominantly now is a blue-black deck, is what we're seeing more and more of. They're still doing the Cascade effect, but Shardless Agent did very well coming out here. It's getting played in a lot of different decks, whether it's for value or a combo engine here. And this is just doing the whole cycle effect. Cycle as much as you can, throw it in the graveyard, put it back in. Grief and Subtlety, those elemental incantations, or incarnations? Incarnations. They are getting played in a lot of different decks, and I'm very happy with that, because they are the cards that are they're free. There are free spells. There are forces for Modern, and obviously beyond Modern, but that's what we're getting, and we're being able to cast these free spells now. And I love Grief. That's a card that blew me away to how good that card is. And then Subtleties, I did misread it the very first time. I thought it was stronger than it actually is, but that's okay. Not everything has to be completely busted, of course. And then after that, we have the Is It Blitz deck. So this is the other variant of the blue-red deck that's much more aggressive. This was a deck that we were used to seeing before Horizons drop, and all this deck really got stronger. It picked up Channeler, which is just the better Delver at this point. And then it has better interactions. Unholy Heat is the other card that was just a really good all-star to me that came out of the set. One red for 2 damage to a creature or planeswalker, and then if you have Delirium, being able to deal 6 to it.
Yep.
Which is very good because that happens to just kill Titan.
Yep.
So, after the Is It Blitz deck, we have another blue-red Murktide pile with Ragavan and Dragonlord's Channeler. Then we have Hammer Time, and that's the deck where you are powering out your artifacts and your Colossus Hammer, and then automatically equipping it using Sigurd as an 8.
Yep.
And then we have Blue-Red again, but this one is flashing white for their Luris and for their Wear and Tears out of the side, which is understandable, tapping into your artifact and enchantment hate right now with everything that's going on with the format. Having the ability to access an enchantment hate to blow up a Urza Saga is going to be just backbreaking to those decks.
Yep.
Yeah, the 2 Seal of Removals are cool too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've noticed I haven't seen many of those, so that's pretty dope. Do they?
I'm seeing.
Go ahead.
I'm seeing Hammer Time decks do that as well.
Yep.
Okay, well, they're playing Seal of Removal.
Mm-hmm. They're playing it in the side because it just hits everything, and you can recur it with Luris.
Yep.
Oh, Hammer Time has a way to make blue. I
Oh no, seal of cleansing. Sorry.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah, you
Gotcha.
said seal removal. Sorry. Yeah. The different seals are just getting played in these different versions of Luris decks.
Yep.
Refresh my memory. What does the white one do?
Destroy an artifact or enchantment.
Okay, that makes sense. It's so good against Urza Saga. You put the trigger on the stack with Urza Saga, like this first chapter. They don't even get to float the mana when you destroy it.
You get literally nothing.
Yeah, it's like there's just so many good Stone Rain effects right now.
Mm-hmm. And then the final deck of the top 8 was a surprising to me because I didn't think this deck was getting played as much anymore, or at all. But it's the classic Scapeshift deck.
Okay.
And it's the 4-color Scapeshift here, playing Valky, Dryad, Omnaths, Ren and 6s, Teferi, whole bunch of different removal spells, Explorers, and then a 1-of Scapeshift with their 4 Bring-a-Lights to make sure that they will cast it with effectively 5 copies.
It's pretty sweet.
Okay, I like the 1 of Scapeshift. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they usually do, from my understanding, with this deck, because they just don't need to have 4 copies. They can just play it as a 1-of, and then just cast it when they get Bring to Light, because you're never casting it for 4 anyway.
It almost sounds like this deck is pretty much Niv without Niv, and then just have the combo kill, which seems kind of sweet.
Yeah. And then you don't have to be reliant on a more awkward mana base either, because this is just, a little bit more cleaner with all the lands that they do have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was it the top 8 you wanted me to cover?
Let's take a gander at the way this is broken down. There's really no other. I didn't mind going to the top 12 of the R1 because there was actually some different archetypes. This one's kind of a little more congested than the last one.
It is.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
The only other deck that I think is of note is the black-red deck, which is the Channeler, Dothy, Ragavan, Kroxa, Turok, which is a really strong engine too, just ripping your opponent's hand apart, playing cheap threats that you can bring back with Luris, and then just gaining engines there. I know that Steven talked about Dothy Voidwalker just being absolutely insane, where you're just ripping cards out of their hand and just casting their big threats for 2 mana compared to whatever they had to pay.
Right. Let's talk about the metagame percentages a little bit. We didn't really talk about the metagame summary in the last one.
Nope, not at all.
So I'm going to break down that one since I have both screens open.
Nice.
So the metagame on the previous challenge that Steven broke down in the last episode, if you didn't hear it, I definitely encourage you to go back. He broke it down pretty well. Blue-Red had 4 copies in the top 32. It's 32, right? That's what it goes up to? Yeah.
Yep.
It had 4 copies at 12.5%. Hammer Time had 3 copies at 9.38%. Blitz had the same amount at the 9.383 copies. 5-color elementals had 2 copies, but I want people to not be deceived by that because I'd be willing to bet they're different decks. But let's take a look just to see. So they are different decks. One's playing some great stuff. This one that took in, it went like 22nd place. It's just doing like main board foundation breakers, 4 Furies, 4 Solitudes, 3 Red and 6. It's doing that kind of thing. Flamekin Harbinger, so you can tutor things up. Some Unsettled Mariners, things of that nature. And the main board Endurance. There's a little bit different. I think it's on paper it seems a little bit weaker than the 7th place one, and that's what I was looking at some final standings. But I'll let people make their own judgment on it, of course. That's just my perspective on it. Crashing Footfalls had 2 copies at 6.25%. Living End as well with 2 copies at 6.25%. And then Harn Skills with 3%, and those are all going to be 3% because the rest had 1 copies.
Okay.
And then Dewey, you go ahead and break down this metagame summary.
Yeah, so the metagame summary for the other one, as we had indicated, Blue-Red was much better. It did quite well here. Now you're sitting at 6 of those decks in the top 32 with just shy of 19%. Crashing Footballs came right after that with 5 decks.
Big improvement.
And I think you're seeing what kind of happened between these metagames or the ways that who was playing in them. The people here, you have about a third of them were just focused on we want to be the more controlling route. We want to be interacting the way we want to and not have to focus on trying to do these absurd things because it was getting fought against so much. After that, you have Hammer Time at 4, Black Red at 4, Living End at 3, Blitz at 3. The other decks were the pop-up variants like the blue, black, red, green deck and the white, blue, red, green deck. Scape Shift, Jund, Grixis the Shadow, Boros Aggro, and a 4-color pile all came in at just 1 deck apiece.
Yeah, this is just a sign of good formats.
It is.
There's no argument there.
You're seeing things shift, your things played. Everyone that was crying that Urza Saga needed to get banned. You look at this top 32 compared to the other one, and it's barely is it even in this?
I think so it's in Hammer Time in the Hammer Time decks, but was it even in your top 8? It was definitely in my top 8.
There's the way we talk about it, right? Look under metagame summary. Let's look at the most played cards. And the one that Dewey just broke down, number 1 was Dragon's Rage Chandler, 59 copies at 47% of the decks. Ragavan, 42 copies, 34% of the decks. Charlotte's Agent, 36 copies, 28% of the decks. Then we have Subtlety, Brazen Borrow, Murktide Region, Dolthy Voidwalker, Memnite, freaking Memnite, Monastery Swiss Spear, Ornithopter, no Urza Saga.
Yeah, Memnite and Ornithopter.
All right, let's look at the other one. All right, let's see what we have here. We have Lightning Bolt as the number 1. Oh, no, that's top spells. Oh,
I was about to say, did they include lands in this? Because the decks with Memnite and Ornithopter probably all also had Urza Saga for being fair.
So where is this listed? Those are most played cards.
Okay.
Yeah, there's top card. I was reading top cards. Then there's a top creatures and top spells place.
Are we sure they would include lands in that list though? Because otherwise, the most played cards would be probably I don't know, mountain or island maybe.
Let me go back a little bit and I'll pull up an old prelim or something that has a lot of kitchens in it.
Okay.
Yep, that's a good catch. Good catch. But regardless, let's look at some of these top cards while he's looking that up. Yeah. Lightning Bolt being a number 1 top card in Modern is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's really been the top card for a while. It's been played, but not nowhere close. Mistress Bobble staying at the top. Honestly, I agree with people if they want to, if anything needs to go, those kind of cards should go before.
Yeah, Bobble's really, really messed up. Yeah. Especially now with, Dragon's Rage Channeler.
And Loris.
That stuff is just absolutely...
It's busted with Loris. It is straight busted.
If there's a card on the chopping block beyond anything else, I definitely agree with you, too, that it is Mistress Bobble.
Yep,
There was
I have no room where we need any changes as of right now. But if there was
No.
going to be a consideration,
Yeah.
I think that's something.
Nothing's dominating right now, so why should you ban anything? Is my opinion.
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot of good Magic going on, so
It's
I don't
not
really
stale.
understand why we would ban anything. Yeah, eventually, if it got stale, then maybe you could talk about it. But like,
But it's
it
not.
seems
That's
really
the
good
thing.
and healthy right now. So, but yeah, the bauble is definitely absurdly ridiculous with Luris, especially when you also have Dragon's Rage Channeler. There were games yesterday where I had 2 channelers in play and was recurring bauble every turn with Luris. So I was getting 2 surveils and a look at the top of either my or my opponent's deck. Oftentimes it was my deck, so I could play a fetch land to fetch it away before I did other things too. It's like so much manipulation in decks that usually shouldn't even have manipulation at all. So it's like really, really ridiculously powerful.
I'll agree with you 100% there. Like the format is just so good. Like I wouldn't even like take it serious when people talk about bans this early. Like any point
No.
right now is
Especially
just
especially in a healthy format. Like I can maybe get it if a format is like if a deck's like 45% of the metagame or something and totally dominating, but nothing is dominating in this format right now. Like we've seen a different like best deck every single week. Like I feel like last week people said it was black red. This week people say it's blue red. The week before that they were saying it was an Urza's Saga deck. The week before that it was still probably an Urza's Saga deck, but a different Urza's Saga deck. The week before that it might have been Amulet with Saga, but either way it feels like it's a different deck like every single week right now. So that's usually a sign of a healthy format, which we've alluded to a few times before already. But just definitely not really a time where you should be banning stuff.
no, and I think that's
it's
unnecessary.
bad because I was playing standard on Arena just to like in between stuff or when I was waiting for people, and I was ridiculously bored, like playing the exact same decks over and over and over again on standard.
Yeah.
Oh, you couldn't get me to go and play any standard right now.
No, it's pretty miserable.
Like, there's just no way. And in addition to that, like Modern with the shakeup, they did a really good job with Horizons. We should be rewarding our not just like Wizards because I don't think they're gonna be fine regardless, but reward ourselves. We had to go through a lot of bad formats to get to a good one. Like,
Yeah.
take
And
advantage.
I like this approach more. What they did here with this release, it's not like what we had with the last Horizons, where it kind of just pushed a few decks up. I think Dykman, you had talked about this. Every deck, a lot of tier 2, tier 3 decks got stuff. A lot of tier
is a huge example.
Yeah, it was always on the cusp of being something somewhere. People always try to make it a thing, but it was never quite good enough.
Very common F&M deck that someone had tried playing.
And then here you have they come out with the set. People were worried about it, and they blew everyone away with just how well it was done, pushing every deck to being relevant. None of the cards that people were saying, "Oh, this is absurd, needs to get banned," were worth it anymore. Like it's all settling just fine.
Yep, settling really well. We were talking. Some members of the team were talking like last weekend when we got together for like a draft when we were hanging out. We were talking about how this is like the best possible, one of the best possible times Wizards could have released a set like this too. Is right off the pandemic when everybody is excited to come play Magic again anyway, and they just really knocked the set out of the park in my opinion. Just excellent cards for so many archetypes. The format seems to be like as healthy as it's been in forever. You can play like 20 different decks. I think we probably named at least 15 different decks in our metagame breakdowns, or at least close to it. I think in mine there were 11 different decks with one multiple in 2 copies of Hammer Time in the top 12, but all the other 10 decks were different decks. And then in your deck, you had some other decks. I don't think Blitz was not in my top 12, and it was in your top 12. And it's just, it's crazy how sweet the format is right now and how many things are going on. But really, Wizards just did an excellent job. And not only is it good in Modern, it's also a really sweet limited set too, which is always just a hugely important thing for being able to get people to buy your product and want to play So I think it was just just an incredible job by Wizards with this set.
Yeah, we just gotta
Yeah.
give credit where credit is due. Like they do a lot of questionable things, to say
Yeah.
the least. When they actually do something good with bringing the MPL members on to help test it, for example, that
Yep.
was huge. Like there's a
Yeah,
big difference
clearly.
why Modern Horizons 1 and 2
Yeah.
had such a big difference in power level, not just power level, but broken level.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
shows. It definitely shows. I mean, this is an awesome set.
Yeah, it was just so good. Like I give honestly the set 10 out of 10. It might be
Oh yeah, I agree. I don't think it could have been really any better at all. I think it's just excellent.
yeah. Any more things you want to put in on that, Dewey?
No, I just hope this is a precursor to how they're going to be approaching things going forward.
Yeah.
And what they did here, where they were pushing the envelope of these decks all up, I it's much more preferred for me than the other way that they've done things in the past, which was a shake-up ban. I hate shake-up bans. It's
Yeah.
not a good thing. I don't want. I know people throw a lot of money into this game. I throw a lot of money in this game.
Mhm.
The idea that they could go, well, we're gonna go ahead and ban this card. Not that it's too strong, but it's just a well-positioned deck, and a lot of people are playing it, and we're gonna go ahead and say that we don't want that right now. I don't like that. I think it's a terrible thing. And they haven't really done it ever since they did it that one time. So hope they'll never return to that.
And are you alluding to like Splinter Twin?
The Splinter
Birthing Pod?
Twin.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
the Splinter Twin Birthing Pod ban, which was felt by a lot of people premature banning, and that it was a shake-up ban. So
Yeah, and looking back on it, I mean, I feel like we could maybe
You-
add the birthing pod's interesting because that one might be really broken in Yawgmoth.
Birthing Pod still might be too strong, as much as I love
Yeah.
Birthing Pod and would
Yeah,
play the crap
when you
out
think
of it.
about how absurd that card would be in Yawgmoth, like it's pretty nuts. Like you could sack your Geist into your Messenger and sack your Messenger into Yawgmoth and then just start doing crazy nonsense.
Yeah, that was pretty
It
broken.
might be too good there, but the Splinter Twin, I really think that would probably be fine. But who knows? I could be wrong. But
Like
Yeah,
they're the Breach Emrakul's a thing, and that's it's another 2-card combo that's doing the same thing that Splinter Twin did. I guess it's a little bit different because Splinter Twin could just do the flash in and just start chipping away until you have to answer it.
yeah, I was going to say it does play differently, but also at the same time somewhat similar. I think that it'd probably be a fine unbanning.
yeah, I'm almost certain it would be a fine unbanning too because we have so many good like Thoughtseize Inquisition decks right now, and those were usually pretty good at playing with the Splinter Twin decks, right? Like that was one of the best. Like Jund was maybe as good as it's ever been in that format.
Agreed.
Jund was super good then. It was a very solid choice because it was a pretty reasonable twin matchup.
Yep.
And right now we have multiple solid black decks. We have black white. We talked about black red. The one deck that got 8th place.
That Abzan pile, and there are
Abzan pile of good cards. Like just tons of. It feels like there would be plenty of decks that would be interacting. Now all these red decks have a 1-mana red spell that can kill Deceiver Exarch if they have Delirium. Which is really solid, which was part of the reason Deceiver used to be so sweet is Bolt doesn't kill it obviously, and Unholy Heat wasn't a thing then, so the only way to kill a Deceiver in the red decks, a lot of the specifically the red blue decks would be to like double bolt it or bolt snap bolt it or whatever, but now that's not the case. Now we just can Unholy Heat.
Right.
So I feel like it would probably be reasonable now. Certainly worth maybe throwing back out there and seeing what would happen.
Yeah, I could see them doing something like that. Not now, but maybe in 6 months or 9 months or so.
Yeah.
Probably closer to 9 months. I could see them wanting not to do anything with paper magic until they are doing tournaments themselves. But I could see them doing it in like Q1, Q2 of next year, going, hey, we're going to do this banning or this unbanning. Or
rather than do a shake-up ban, do maybe a shake-up unban.
I think a shake-up unban makes way more sense. Like, it is time for Ayavugan to reign supreme.
Okay, yeah, I don't know about that one, but the
All right, it's time for Oko to reign supreme.
oh boy, okay, yeah, Oko Oko in these cookbook decks would be
Oh
so
my
so much.
god!
It
Oh
would
my
make my
god!
dream. Let's
So
make my
much.
dream happen. Let's make my dream happen.
Oh my god!
All
I
right,
just
fine.
going Gilded Goose into Oko into like Asthma. Oh, oof,
Okay,
we
fine.
would be doing some crazy stuff.
All right, since you guys are not on board with my plans, all right, it's time for Golgari Grapetro to reign supreme.
Oh boy. Okay. I think Larry doesn't quite get the idea, so maybe we should just move on to
Maybe
whatever we're
we should
talking
move on.
about next.
Maybe we should move
Yeah.
on.
Golgari
We're falling off the
Grapetro.
rails.
Golgari Grapetro doesn't get no
Off the
love.
rails.
You know what? But no, seriously, the one thing about Golgar Grave Troll, I think it represents, and I hope they'll do it again, that, hey, we're willing to unban things.
Yeah.
Hogak, it's time to reign supreme.
God, a
Okay.
good example of the unbanning being successful is like Bloodbraid Elf and Jace, right? I mean, those were
Yes.
very successful unbans. They really they were unbanned, and really neither of them made a super huge impact on the format. They're both solid cards. They're both definitely playable where they're playable, but they're by no means broken
Nope.
at all. Wild Mikatl would be on this list too, right? That was another card that was banned at one point that is now unbanned and is again just like very fringe playable card that just didn't belong on the ban list anymore because of how modern has evolved and changed. It's just not a ridiculous card anymore like it may have been at one time, and there may be other cards on the ban list that they should try doing that with too.
Like the ones I mentioned.
I don't know about those ones.
We'll put those in the maybe pile.
Honestly, I mean it's
Well, I honestly think Golgari Grapetro could give it. Here's the reason. Voidwalker in them is pretty good. Like
I agree.
Golgari Grapetro ain't doing much.
Voidwalker has really changed the dynamic of the way that graveyard decks will approach modern, maybe forever, depending on how long Voidwalker, lasts in the format and things like that. But like I said, those all the black mid-range decks used to just be horrendous against Dredge, especially in game one. That's just not the case.
No, I
if
agree
you're on
with
play,
you.
and you play a Dauthi on turn 2, and the Dredge player, is not playing removal or doesn't have the removal spell, like what are they going to do? Like it's just their deck just doesn't do what it needs to do if they can't put anything in their graveyard. So
No, you're 100% correct there. In addition to that, I actually do realistically think on this ain't no joke that they could actually realistically unban Facelink because the premier hate that we have for modern is pretty good now that we have main deckable ones, and I think that was the main thing. Was there viable main deckable graveyard hate that doesn't ruin the format? And Voidwalker, the Sanctificer, is that the name of it? Both are very,
the Sanctifier. I know what
both
you're
are
talking
very
about.
quality cards to play in your main board. Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
those you don't get hurt by, and that was like the big thing. And then you can still play some of the other ones like Scavenging Oozes and things of that nature, which are still all fine cards at the end of the day. And the thing about Faceless Swing, like you can leave Golgari Grapetro. I'm actually tell people this all day. If your biggest worry is Dredge, let's hypothetically say Dredge, you're the reason we don't want Golgari Grapetro.
Yeah.
Okay. I honestly think Dredge is actually still playable if you ban Creeping Chill. Because we have gotten so many tools with whether it being Ox and these different like elements, the Ghoul. Like the Ghoul would be a little bit hard, but we could just go back to playing more Blood Gas in the deck. We could go back to playing things. Yeah. The deck is going to adapt. I don't think its burn matchup is as good anymore. I will admit there. But but if that's like the thing, if the way that they want to be, because I think we lost a lot of cool decks with the Faithless Wing Bad, whether it being Mardu Pyromancer or Blue Red Phoenix. I think those are very cool decks that we lost. And let's be real, they were lost for the sins of Dredge. Like, I'm not going to be crazy and think they didn't ban it. I guess Phoenix, what people did be like, we need to ban it because of Phoenix. But I again don't think Phoenix was like the best deck by any stretch.
Right.
I think that deck it did well because it was played so much. But if you look at the numbers of it being played and the percentage of its win, like it wasn't as impressive as you would think. Like compared to others, and I thought Mardu Pyromancer was a sweet deck.
It was.
I also thought Hollow One was a sweet deck. And those decks are perfectly fine to have.
I enjoy the Hollow One deck. There's a card in it that that I absolutely hate.
Oh my god, the card's
I
not
mean,
even
yeah,
that bad.
Burning Inquiry is. I mean, hopefully most people can agree. It's just kind of a dumb card.
It's super funny.
The amount of randomness in it is just ridiculous. Like,
it's super funny.
So random, dude. It's just such a disgustingly designed card. Like, for me personally, like I like playing Magic with as little randomness as possible. Larry and I have talked multiple times about how like we don't always love playing Coco decks because there's quite a high element of randomness in Coco. Like when you hit really well with Coco, it's insane, and when you miss with Coco, it's god awful.
It's like
and it's a disgusting feeling to lose games that way. And with Burning Inquiry, it's randomness on both sides, just complete random draw and discard, which is I just think it's a really silly card. And I don't think they would design a card like that in today's game, or at least I really hope they wouldn't. You never know what Wizards would do, but I just think the card is like really, really stupid. Personally, I won't say much more about it, but I also hate that card.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we don't have to. I guess there is some Hollow One decks running around that does play it, so be aware when you go to your local paper tournament that.
Yeah, and another deck that plays it that's gotten a few 5-0s in leagues is like that. There's like this Lurrus Waste Knot deck that plays it too.
Yeah,
that Dewey and I ran into one night that was pretty darn annoying. Burning Inquiry and Waste Knot is kind of hilarious.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And if the transition, talking back on the outside, getting off the band topic and moving to more of the current decks, another deck that I think got a really good inclusion. Which what started as a meme and turned out to actually be legit, and that was Blue White Miracles. Here's the thing about Miracles. My take on it: I always found the deck so awkward because you draw these terminuses, and you have this expensive 4-drop that you have to. And this is actually in line with the banning talk. I played Blue White. I actually don't ever want Jace. Like the matches that I played against, never wanted to see Jace. Like I just don't see Jace for against Amulet, I didn't want to tap out against them.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tap out for 4 against them. Against Blue Red, I don't think it's resolving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced. Against, let's say, for example, Storm. That really ain't a good card. As crazy as it may sound to some people.
But yeah, no, I hear you here. This is a very good point.
I'm just saying, people get blinded by I think the biggest issue with Jace is they compare it too much to what it was.
Yeah.
And now what it currently is.
Yeah, and don't get Larry wrong. He's not saying it's a bad card.
No,
it just doesn't line up in a lot of matchups.
Yeah.
There are some where it's still good. Like I think it would be pretty solid against like Black White. It might be pretty okay against the Footfalls decks. Just having a thing in there that can like unsummon the 4/4 or just like set up a Terminus against them seems pretty important.
Right.
Maybe against Elementals it would be solid. I don't know, but it's definitely like you said. It's definitely not what it was at one time. It's not this like this imposing card that just like dominates like every match. It's a solid card, but it's certainly bad in a good amount of spots, and a lot of people I think fail to realize that.
Yep, I like it against like the black base decks because it's just another threat that they have to answer.
Exactly.
But other than that, like I don't think it's bad in every matchup. I wasn't trying to include it, but I think in a lot of matchups right now in the format, it's not good against. Because if I go through this list, like blue red, I don't think it's a good matchup. I don't know about Hammer Time. I don't know if we even have time to really set it up, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know either. I would say
Blitz seems bad.
Probably, it might actually be okay against Hammer Time because once they if they can't re-equip, then maybe bounce in there. But usually they'll be able to. Well, no, I guess if their equip effect is Sigarda's Aid, the equipments stay in place. So if you bounce the creature that is equipped, if it's not like an Ink Moth, it might be solid.
Yeah, it's just stuck in play at that point.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting, but it is very slow, like you
If
said.
they're
So
active, if they have an
Man.
equipment on Inkmoth, we're probably gonna die. We
I
probably
mean,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
at the end of the
yeah,
day, there's a
dude.
reason why Jace is normally just a 1 of or a 2 of
yeah. I
in
was
these
gonna say
decks.
he's
Okay?
a 2 of in the blue white decks.
Yeah, it's not like what it was when it dominated standard, where it was a 4 of. You know, that's
Yeah.
just not a thing anymore.
Yeah, and I'm looking like hard skills. That ain't where I want to be. I'm
No.
not no. But yeah, what I'm just saying. But the real like icing on the cake, what I was getting to is that card Brainstone is good in that deck, man. Like, let me talk to you about this 1 mana artifact. let me tell you. Have you ever had these terminuses rotting in your hand, and you are depending on a 2 of 4 drop to fix that? You have this
I've
one
got a
drop that can
solution
just.
for you.
There's this one drop you could just play it on turn 1, which I did like almost every game. I played on turn 1 and it just sat there. It sat there as a nice little security blanket.
Yeah.
You don't know your opponents, the look on their face when you go activate Brainstone. You have a fetch in play and you're like, go to my turn and don't crack your fetch. Oh man, the look on their face. Ask Andrew. Oh, when you put and they're like, aren't you supposed to fetch? Nah, I'm good. Like, oh, it's just such a good card, because that was the big problem I always had with miracles was like laying those miracle cards raw in your hand.
Yep.
And I actually think blue white's very viable right now. Like,
Oh yeah.
is it the best deck? I don't think it's the best deck. Is it a good tier
No.
2 deck? I think it is a good tier 2 deck.
Yeah.
Would I register for the event? Yeah, I would register it. And I don't think I would regret registering it. Obviously, it's modern. There's going to be a pairing lottery. If a deck can get underneath blue white and put them on the defense, that's going to be problematic.
Yeah, it may not line up the best with the Ragavan decks.
Yeah, Ragavan. Yeah, against good Ragavan pilots, which they can be in far in between, thankfully, because that's how Magic works. But like if I'm thinking Ragavan, like usually, like the deck plays 4 Prismatic Vistas, not Prismatic Vistas. You know what I'm talking about? What is that, Prismatic Ending? Yeah. Thankfully, you have 4 of those to be able to answer Monkey.
Yep, you do.
A good player is going to dash it in again, like if they think you're gonna have it. But honestly, if it can line up, they go turn 1 Monkey and you go turn 1 Prismatic Ending. I keep calling it Vista. Jesus. Could work out well for you. Was there a blue white list on this? There is that.
I don't.
No, that's the blue white Yorion. A little bit different. Like
Very,
actually,
very different. Not even.
not even remotely close.
Is it a little different? Yeah, it's a little different.
Let's see. Hold on, guys. Hold on. We're here to like entertain. They both play Holophone. Oh, they both play Planes.
And 3 mana to fairy.
Yep.
Probably.
Oh, look at this.
Yep.
This is pretty much the same deck.
Pretty
But
much.
yeah, no, I definitely agree. The blue white control, or like some of the like Jeskai Control-y or Jeskai Monkey Blade. Those decks are definitely sweet.
I kind of want to try Esper, so I can play
Yeah.
Dam.
Yep.
I really want to play that, but Big Teferi actually feels really good. I do want to try the Miracles build. That's like the Bring the Light Miracles deck.
Where you play Luris and can recur the Brainstones and go
you're
get
just
Bulk.
Bring the Light and the Valky and stuff. That
Yeah.
actually seems very cool to me.
Yeah.
And I like to play Valky out your graveyard, right? And then when you terminate this to put it back at the bottom of your deck, and now your Bring the Lights are back action to be able to grab that Planeswalker is pretty nasty.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things you can do with that deck. So it is a deck I would like to try. I'm not going to try it right now because I don't have time with our tournaments coming up.
Yeah.
Because I don't think those are decks I have on my radar right now to actually jam in the tournament that we're doing. For Unified. Unified purposes, I have some other decks on mine, but those are a little bit like the attack on those tournaments are a little different than what you would normally do because of the circumstances. So I don't want to tell people, for example, one of the decks I'm looking at is on Boggles. I don't want
Yep.
people thinking like, oh, Boggles is going to be sweet. And then they get bodied because they're like, I keep running into engineer explosives. Yeah, about that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just so weird right now. Not right now, but because of that. But there's a lot of other good decks, like the blue. There's so many different versions of blue red you could be playing. Black red has deck lists, and those vary in card types. There's usually some
They
flex
do.
spots.
Yep.
Like there's just the door is open for so many things. Look, Amulet. They may have not done good this week, but they've been doing good still.
Yeah, that deck is still very good. I mean,
People are
it's-
saying they think it's the best deck in the format. Like
I mean,
only,
I definitely think it's the best deck in the format.
I honestly don't think there is a best deck in the
yeah,
format.
that's my opinion as well.
I think there's many good
people love
decks.
chiming in and saying what the best deck is, but I don't think there's a best deck right now.
No,
I'm not
there's-
convinced. at all.
I don't think there is I am biased because I actually love that deck because it's so strong and so powerful.
We all have
but-
biased decks. That's fine.
I would agree with you. I would agree. And I feel like your opinion is probably that you feel like it is the most powerful deck. It does the
Yeah.
most powerful nonsense. And I would agree. Amulet is just so ridiculous what it does.
Yeah, we're talking power,
and
like
really.
most powerful decks. I'll agree.
But yeah, other than saying it's the most powerful, I would not go as far as to say it's the best.
Yeah, it does have. I think there's about 5 or 6 decks that I think are all like quote unquote tier 1, even though tier lists don't matter as much obviously anymore.
Right.
But I think there's about that many that are just so strong right now.
Yep, I agree.
And even if you're going with a tier 2 pick, tier 3 pick, even not bad calls right now. Just
I agree.
Yeah, there's just so many good things, and that's again when there's no like clear cut best deck. That's a sign of a good format.
It is.
Was there anything else you guys wanted to chime in about Modern?
No, I think
No.
we've hit the nail pretty well on the head here.
Yeah. Let's talk about next week's show a little bit. Next week we're actually gonna be talking. We're gonna be finally going back on the road for Paper Magic the Magic the Gathering. This week, me and Steven are going to be on a team with James Johnson, another teammate here on Swish Gaming. And we're going to be doing a team tournament where James is going to be manning Mono Black Aggro for Pioneer. I am going to be manning an Urza Karn Wish style deck for Legacy. And over here, Steven is going to be manning a deck to be determined because he can't make up his mind.
Yep.
But there's nothing wrong with that. We still have a couple days. We're actually going to be jamming some...
I know it's going to have Ragavan in it.
Okay, he's going to be playing a Ragavan deck.
In fact, I know it's going to have Ragavan, Lightning Bolt, Unholy Heat, Dragon Rage Channeler. I know it's going to have all those cards. So, Mishra's Bauble. I think it's going to have all those, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so, we know, roughly 20 of the spells that'll be in our deck. It just, is the second color going to be black or is the second color going to be blue?
Yeah,
And maybe we'll discuss a little bit next week why I made the decision I made and how that ended up paying off.
Yep, and we're going to break down the tournament. We're going to talk about how we did, some of the matchups, on why James didn't draw lands. And, I think that's going to be a pretty good episode. And then we'll take a little dive into the thought process between Andrew, Dewey, and I. Because we're going to be doing a Modern Unified tournament. I'll have my deck list determined. I have no problem sharing my deck list either. Or at least my deck choice.
Maybe I can chime in as well because I'm on a different team, but I can talk about my team's thoughts as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
We could do that, and I will... and I am looking forward to it. I'm just excited to get back to the paper grind. And then we're also going to have Noah, another Swish Gaming member, on the podcast to do a nice little interview with us. So I'm all looking forward to all of this. And if there's nothing else, guys, last call. Anything else you wanted to say?
No, I'm ready to go jam leagues now. So.
Yep. And everyone else, stay on. Shortly, we are going to have our interview with Jaren White in just a few moments. Again, welcome Dewey to the podcast, and we're looking forward to be doing this every week until the Lord knows when. But until next time, it's been Dewey, Steven, and Larry. We will catch you later.
See you next time.
Welcome everyone back for an interview segment here on Talking Swish. Larry here, alongside with me is Dewey and Steven, and today we have a very special guest, Jaren White. Jaren, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, living the dream. How you been for the last year and a half? I know we've all been shut down for a little bit. We haven't got to talk in probably a little over a month.
I've been good, pretty actually. Just working and playing Magic Online from time to time.
All right, the pandemic specialist, I like to call it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad that you made some time to be able to come on with us. I know we've been doing this for probably throughout the whole pandemic, and we haven't had the chance to bring you on, but we definitely get brought up in discussions, whether it was Dewey bringing you up, Steven bringing it up. It was never me because I have a memory like a turtle. Um, so don't hate me for that. But it is awesome that we were able to finally get you over here. Anything you want to add before we move on, Steven or Dewey?
Oh, it's really good to finally have Jaren on here. We've certainly tested a lot together and played a good amount of Magic during quarantine, so it's good to finally get him on the show. 'Cause I believe it's his first time on the show, correct, Jaren?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna
so
say
it's really,
this.
yep. Go ahead, Dewey.
I was like, this is just like one of our gaming sessions at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, we've done
Exactly.
so many of those, right? We're all four of us is just in Discord, ball jamming our own individual games, just chatting away, having a good old time.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that, and it's glad that we can actually get it over and do more of a formal sit down. Before we jump into our first segment part of this interview, let's ask Steven, how did you meet Jaren?
I met Jaren. So it's funny. I didn't really know who Jaren was, and Jaren came up to me at a PTQ up at, I think it was at Game On, or it was somewhere. I think it was somewhere up north. I think it was Game On. Jaren will correct me if I'm wrong. But Jaren came up and said hi or whatever, and we talked a little bit throughout the day, and then at some point he added me on Facebook, and from there he would reach out to me occasionally, and we would kind of talk about Magic and stuff, and one thing led to another, and we started playing together, especially a lot during quarantine. So
That's awesome. Was there anything you remember specifically why you decided you wanted to walk up to Steven, Jaren?
You just seem like a really cool person.
Yeah, we all make mistakes, so I don't hate you for it.
thanks, Jaren. Appreciate that, buddy.
No, but Dewey, how about you?
I want to say we just met at one of the SCG Opens, right? And
Yeah.
I got introduced to you by other people on the team and other grinders in the area.
Okay, I know I met Jaren personally when we did that one of the last events before the pandemic, that indie event. Well, was that NRG or SCG? SCG it was. Yeah, that was the first time I met Jaren. I've seen him around. I didn't know, but I see a lot of people around. When I was like the number one grinder, I get to see a little bit of every Michigan player here or there. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's glad that we're able to get you on. Like I said, Jaren wanted to do a nice little introduction for you for sure. Well, we'll jump into a little bit. Jaren, tell us a little bit about your Magic background, like personal, what got you into Magic, what kept you in Magic, what brought you into doing some competitive tournaments, all the works.
So I started playing Magic around. Actually, I just did my 10-year. I started playing Magic and around Innistrad, I want to say. The first Innistrad, and I literally walked into a shop. I didn't know what the game was, but it looked cool, so I sat down and one of the guys from the shop taught me how to play. And a week or two later, I went back, and I was like, hey, you guys do any tournaments or anything? And next thing you know, they told me they do FNM on a Friday. So one of the guys from the shop helped me build a mono black deck with Liliana the Veil and Dark Realms that I both pulled out of packs at that time, and I ended up winning my first FNM with mono black.
Wait. Your first deck just casually had Lily of the Veil in it. You're just like, no big deal. First pack opened up, boom, got this staple for all the formats.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
That's sweet, man.
Yeah, that is just
It's
good
really
timing right there.
It reminds me one of my first decks actually had a Tezzeret Agent of Bolus in it when it was super expensive as well. I built this like really bad mirror deck based around that had a Tezzeret in it. It was easily the best card.
That card's nasty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Those are always good. Unfortunately, my first deck I built, I went 05. I wasn't cool like you guys. I'm not over here opening packs and be like, oh, this is sweet. I opened up like a Tarka, whatever, the one that added mana, and I didn't have any ramp. So,
Nice.
yep, a little bit opposite. But yeah, Jaren, you said you came around Innistrad. I heard that format was sweet in general, whether it was limited, constructed, so forth.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that
it was sweet.
and that's what kept you kept you going throughout the format and enjoying Magic
Yeah,
was like the F&M style that they used to have.
yeah, that too, and eventually I progressed from mono black to red white humans, and then after that I went to Naya Blitz.
Okay, I don't know too much about Naya Blitz offhand, but I know the other two decks.
Jaren, was Naya Blitz the Burning Tree Emissary deck?
Yep, and you could just turn 4 people.
Yeah,
That
didn't it
was
play
sick.
Champion of the Parish and stuff too?
Yep,
Lightning Mauler, right? Was Lightning
Mhm.
Mauler in there?
yep.
Yeah, that deck was awesome. I remember that deck.
So
Yeah,
pretty much
I
what the
definitely
red
remember
blue
that deck.
is.
What was that, Larry?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you out, dude. I was just asking if it was like similar to how the red blue deck, where you're just trying to close the game by comboing a bunch of spells in the turn.
Think more. It was more like the Bushwhacker modern decks.
Oh, okay,
Kind of.
makes more sense. More of
Yeah.
a combo synergy among
Very
creatures.
very Burning Tree oriented and very quick, aggressive, fast creature draws.
Mhm.
Fair enough. Dewey, what were you saying before Stephen rudely cut you off?
I was just saying, I remember that deck because it was, you're playing all the different 1 drops, the 2 drops, the boars to become 3/3s, and you would do a slight anthem effect, and you just rush out and to kill people. It was a nice deck.
Yeah, that sounds like my kind of deck too, because I do love me some Bushwhacker Zoo style decks. Big fan, big fan. But yeah, Jaren, you played F&M, you played those different decks, which are all very good decks. Now, let's talk about what got you into the competitive aspect of the thing, because there's a difference between playing at your local F&M and going to Star City Game Opens.
Right. So let's fast forward to Theros. So I had moved on from a small local gaming store to Gamers Gauntlet, and at this time, I was playing the red white Outpost Siege deck with Stormbreath and Outpost Siege and Rabble Master, and first my first PPTQ, I did like terribly, and then my second qualifier, which was the last in-store PTQ, I said to KO, I was like, I'm going to top 8 and or win that PTQ. The day of that tournament, it was like something like 8 rounds, and I went 6-2, and I lost my last 2 rounds, and I still got in the top 8, and then I lost to Brian DeMars in top 4.
A heck of a run, though, I gotta say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said did you say KO?
Kato.
Kato. Gotcha. Okay.
That's awesome. Like, that name was very familiar. Was he like a pro or grinder?
Dan Cato.
Yeah.
Dan Cato is the owner of Gamers Gauntlet, and at one point he did play on a pro tour.
Okay, I thought the name sounded familiar. And Gamers Gauntlet, I didn't catch it. Was that the Kalamazoo location or is that Flint?
That is the location in Clinton Township.
Clinton Township. There's so many stores with those similar names throughout this state that, like, maybe it's like Gamer Sanctuary, the one in Kalamazoo I was thinking of. I've actually been. We just actually seen each other when we did that win a switch at Gamers Gauntlet. Now that I
Yep.
remember, because you were on that band deck and I was on Teamer.
Yep.
Yep. I know the store now. Yeah, no, it's awesome. You were determined to make that top 8, weren't you?
Yeah.
Hey,
And
there's.
then the next morning, Kato messaged me. I was like dead sleep. He messaged me. He was like, "Hey, congratulations. But guess what? Get up and finish what you started." Because there was another PPTQ at his store that very next morning.
Did you go?
I
Uh,
hope you went.
actually, I did, and I missed out on top 8 by a win. So
Oof. Hey, that's still a good run. If you're losing win-ins, that means you're still right there in contention. I don't think
yeah,
I don't think people actually acknowledge how good, much of a success it is to actually be put in that situation.
Yep.
that is very very true.
But yeah, so you did that. What transitioned you into doing more of the bigger events?
I just kept doing them. There was one point I did stop for a minute because work was taking up so much work was taking up so much time because I was cooking for a living.
Oh, yep.
And then for like 3 months, like during, let's fast forward to like Kaladesh, I want to say. During the block of Kaladesh, I didn't play for 3 months, and then I just happened to like go to a GPT because I had some time off, and I didn't have a deck at the time, so one of the locals let me borrow the Mardu Vehicles deck,
Yep.
and during that GPT, I cracked top 8 of the Mardu Vehicles and lost in top 4.
Okay. So you're just consistently going to to the stores when they have more of their premier events, whether they're Grand Prix trials, PPTQs, PTQs, so forth, and just crushing it.
Yeah. At that current time, I took 3 months off Magic, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna play this deck and see what happens.
I've
I had to
done.
ask people in the middle of the like in the middle matches, like how does this work? How does this work? And how does this work? And after each match, I was accumulating more knowledge about how the format has shaped during that time.
It's nice that you were like willing to actually ask those questions because I find often, when you're getting into Magic and you're starting to do more of the competitive scene,
Hmm.
you're really intimidated to ask these people these questions. It's you feel like, oh, this is something I should already know, and it's like,
Hmm.
hey, you know what? It's okay for me not to know. This is a part of that learning experience.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with Magic players, especially because at that point you're not like super experienced. So, and the big issue that a lot of people have with the lack of experience is not knowing how to put their ego in check. Um,
Hmm.
Myself included, I used to have that. That was one of my biggest downfalls. That's why I I had that big spiraling downwards with Blue Red Phoenixes because I couldn't put my ego in check, and I was like, oh, if I don't win with this, it means I suck. But I'm not asking help. So it's kind of like the double-edged sword.
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad that hearing from what you're saying, you were able to avoid that, and that does create better success in your early ages of playing. So with that being said, was there anything else that took you over to the Star City events?
So at the time when I really started when I really wanted to do Star City, Adam Yurchek like literally pushed me to go play. He was like, "Hey, you're doing pretty well in locals." He was like, "You should probably start playing in Star Cities and GP." And I was like, "I've been thinking about doing that. I probably should." And then I remember my first Star City. I did horribly, but I actually kind of sort of made a friend, and I still talk to this person every day. And I also got them to sign my playmat. I met Jerry T during that GP during the Star City in Chicago,
That's really cool.
and I picked his brain from his advice real quick. And he was like, I was like, "Do you have any advice from an up and coming player?" He was like, "Yeah, don't ever quit playing."
Nice.
No, that's
He still
awesome,
tells
sir.
me that from time to time.
That's awesome. Yeah, Jerry Thompson, very good player. Been playing the game quite some time. Everybody knows who Jerry Thompson is. I'm pretty sure at this point. Multiple Pro Tour top 8, Pro Tour champion. For
Yep.
those that might not know who Jerry T is known. But no, that's awesome. I'm glad that you even acknowledged how you didn't do quite well at your first Star City. We've all had our first big events where it's kind of like a culture shock, as they
Yep.
say. You can't always do well at those. But yeah, it
Right.
sounds like you've had a nice little road to the, I will say the big time, I guess, because the big time is grinding the SCG and Grand Prix circuit. Dewey and Steven, did you either of you have anything to chime in on our little deep dive into the background of Jaren's Magic journey?
It sounds like you got right into it, though, is the only thing I'll really add. It took me like 4 years, 3 years before I even decided to go to an F&M. Like, it took me a long time, and then from there, building up into go to my first event. Although it only took one event. Go to just one of them, and I was like, well, I'm going to all of them now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Dewey,
literally.
did you get into competitive play around the time when you were like playing at Goldmine and stuff? Was that kind of when you started?
Uh, yeah. I technically started playing in high school, so this is around 2007,
Hmm.
2006, and then I played that classic kitchen table Magic for like
Yep.
3 years, and
Okay.
then I started going to Goldmine. Once I started going to Goldmine and hanging out at Alpha Players, that's when I started going, hey, we could go to these tournaments,
Yep. Yep.
and then that took PTQs then snowballed me into
Hmm.
GPs, and I think at one point I was willing to drive to any GP or any Open within like 12 hours. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, you actually drove me to my first PTQ. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure. Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
which
Yeah.
I ended up winning, which was frickin' sweet. But my process personally was a little faster than Dewey's, but that was mainly because I also started playing in high school, and I was playing kitchen table for a few months, and then my buddy Dustin was basically told me about F&Ms, and then we started going to F&Ms together every week. And then we like built up a collection together as well, which was kind of cool because that way, we could both trade for things when we had time and stuff. So we were able to kind of accumulate cards for decks, for multiple decks that we both liked, and then we could kind of keep things fresh by switching decks every now and then. And but yeah, from there, I think it probably took me about maybe a year, maybe a little less than a year, maybe a little more before I started doing some competitive stuff.
Yeah, no, that makes
I
sense.
remember Dustin.
Yeah, yep, very cool dude. I actually just hung out with him the other week for the first time in a few years. But yeah, he's
Awesome.
doing pretty well, and he still has his commander decks. And I've actually been thinking about maybe building a commander deck here sometime soon because it's just such a good way to play with random people who would play Magic who are not competitive.
I
With,
agree.
with that being said, for anybody listening, Jaren, and Steven, since this is being brought up for you, if anybody wants to get in the commander, there is nothing wrong with playing proxies in a commander deck. I have makingplayingcards.com will let you go ahead and do that for you can make like a $12,000 commander deck for like $30.
The only thing I'll add to that is that's for your friends and you're playing with that. Some local groups and when you're going to the stores and playing do not allow that. You're going to want to check with your local stores and whether or not they allow proxies. And you
Yes.
should check with your local groups as well. Even a
Yep.
group of friends may also not want it. But I agree with Larry here quite a bit. I proxy up cubes and I'm going to be proxy on my EDH decks here pretty soon.
Yep,
Yep.
I use it and I have them for people to see samples of whenever they want. Top quality. I'm not sponsored by them. I just really appreciate what they do.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing for sure.
But yeah, no, to wrap that part up, Jaren, was there anything else you want to add about your Magic background?
No, not really. I think I covered basically just everything.
Yeah, like I said, it was a nice little deep dive we were able to do. do would you for it? Because I always like to know a little bit about the Magic background, because we're all Magic players here, right? We all have different ways that we enter the game, whether being tabletop. Some people just jump right into competitive Magic. So I like to know what was special to you, and it sounds like Liliana was special to you. So, with that being said, let's jump into the main reason that we're here, the main topic of the day. Dewey, you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. So here we're going to be talking about what you really bring to the game, right, Jaren? Like your enjoyment with it, and then our also our topic of like what we've been doing this last year, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just not to interrupt too much. I know that, but we're also gonna be the main topic is transitioning to back to paper as well.
Oh, apologies. Yes, yes. So yeah, transitioning back to paper, we're going to be talking a little bit about what we've done with the online, but then going back to the paper here. So I guess to start with that here, Jared, what has been like the quick recap of you with the COVID tournaments and the era of this online thing, and what are you starting to do here to get back into paper?
So basically, when COVID started, around that time, I was supposed to attend GP Detroit and GP Louisville, and COVID was like, nah, that ain't happening, fam. You ain't attending nothing. You locked inside your house. I was like, all right. Hope it's just only for a couple weeks. Turns out it was for almost about a year.
Yep.
So during that time, Channel Fireball at the time had basically had GP qualifiers, running daily. Star City had events running daily, and basically just about every other day, or at least every weekend, I was trying to grind to get to a GP. There have been a few times I've made a GP, which was shocking, but I was like, all right, I made a GP, cool. There have been multiple times where I've played in 5Ks, 1Ks, things of that nature. I've played in smaller tournaments where I'm getting prizes like a box or something added to my PayPal. That's basically all I did during COVID was literally trying to grind Magic.
Yeah, and I think that was the case for a lot of people, myself included, where we're just doing those smaller tournaments just to still fulfill to some extent that itch that we really, really have with when it comes to this big paper events,
Yep.
So now that we're at that point and we're transitioning, what are the things you're, I guess, preparing or looking forward to the most?
Reading my opponents and realizing when they have it and when they don't.
So you like to do that poker read of like, yeah, you got this, or nope, you don't got this, I'm gonna go for it.
Yep.
Oh man,
Like the physical tells and everything.
my so we had a friend that was in the Grand Rapids Magic scene that kind of like helped me become a much stronger player, and this was during the era of Extended. I don't think you ever played Extended.
I did a little bit.
Okay. Well, in that format, there was also a Scape Shift deck. And he could read me so well. I'm terrible at reading people. He could read me so well. He knew that I held back a play because he held up counter magic, but I also held back the play because I wanted to hold up a counter spell because it looked like he needed the 6th land before he could shift. And kill me because he had Prismatic Omen. So he purposely delayed his land drop 2 turns so I would false read into him being stumbled on land. I went for my play that set me up for the win next turn, but I had to let down my shields and not have a counterspell held up. And then he went off and took me out. And I was like, "How long were you holding that?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, multiple turns. I was just waiting for you. I knew that you wouldn't make that play until I did this, but by not playing the land, you would have that false sense of security." So. It's very impressive that you can do those reads because I very much just pay attention to the board.
It's really funny.
Next leveled.
Yeah. Did you pick up those from like other games, or have you always just been naturally good at being able to read people?
So, funny story about Michigan Magic. Michigan Magic history is very rich, and there are some players around here who I have learned, who when I was starting to play Magic, they taught me certain things. Like they taught me how to read a board, they taught me how to read people and things of that nature, and it just picked up from there.
Nice. So it's kind of like it was a little bit taught, but mostly just innate that you just picked up on it quite well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're looking forward to being able to read your opponents and just know exactly when they don't or don't do or don't have it. Do you have a tournament lined up that you're going to be going to first? Have you done it? And then also, have you done some FNMs or some local events yet?
I have. So like when they opened up March, was it May 28th? That was the Memorial Day weekend. I played in a Pioneer event. I went 2-1 because it was only 3 rounds. I was like, okay, I'm slowly getting back into the groove in it. Tomorrow is standard, and I decided to sleeve up Team Adventures with Luca. So I was like,
Nice.
I have familiarity playing with this deck. This deck has all my bases covered and everything that I'm looking to play against in terms of like counter magic creatures and things of that nature. So I'm like, all right, I'll sleeve this up. Then I think I played Pioneer on Friday, and Friday I kind of want to play the 4-color Ascendancy deck.
Mm-hmm.
Is Pioneer in a good spot? I haven't really been hearing much about it, to be honest.
So, Pioneer at its infancy basically got cut off by COVID.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that.
After like bannings and everything, some people say Pioneer is dead because Wizards won't bring a format to a digital space where there's a lot of overlap, as opposed to they can just stretch it out over time and add sets, and then when they're ready, they can just add that one set that is needed to finish Pioneer.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that's like a huge red herring to me at this point is they just announced that they're not going to be doing Pioneer Masters either, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they said they didn't have the time, and I was like, so you guys are saying you don't have the time because you are working on other projects? And then the first thought that went in my head was because we're getting more remaster sets, and there's 5 sets coming in the standard.
I mean, I hope that it's a good decision. You know, I'm always a big fan of, was it Miyamoto that stated that, you know, a bad game release will be forever bad, but a delayed game is only, you know, a little bittersweet to begin with. I'm paraphrasing that 100%, I'm sure, but I'm hoping that the delay will be good things for Pioneer in the long run, but we'll have to just kind of see how that plays out.
See, I have a personal different mindset. I think the delay is kind of like the lining in the sand that Historic's taken over Pioneer's slot eventually. I am really convinced that that's like the first like light at the end of the tunnel, that Pioneers are going to get the Axon replaced.
Yeah, that's my thought as well. Because I've invested a lot into the format because I like the format. But
also, so go ahead and make your thought.
Okay, I think whenever SCG makes when they finally come out with like a schedule for whenever they're doing their stuff again, that'll be a big signal as to what's going to happen too, right? Because if they're doing Pioneer events, then maybe it will take off again if it's relevant again. But if SCG doesn't support it, that'll be really bad for it too.
And also look at it as a business plan. How much, hypothetically, they make a crap ton of money off of Pioneer Masters? Sure. How much are they going to make if they do a remaster set for Innistrad, they do a remastered set for Zendikar, yada yada, so forth and so forth. I think there's just more money into it by doing these remastered sets too, which they're a business, let's be real. They're going to do whatever they can to make the most money at the end of the day. And that's the way to do it. They're perfectly fine making people wait. They waited this long, they're still, and obviously people are still going to be on Arena. Let's make extra money with it. Because somebody was talking to me today about it, and they made a good point that the remastered sets are just going to make so much more. And also, Pioneer Masters is going to, if they would have released that, who knows how many cards is in it, that would have been a nightmare for the Historic format. Because they're all going to be legal in Historic, it was already said. So, getting all those cards introduced at the same time, then trying to make sure nothing is going to be busted would have been a nightmare. Oh.
Mhm.
So that was just my thought behind it. I won't take up any more time regarding just the Pioneer format. But that's just, I think Historic's taken over Pioneer, and this is just like the beginning signs of it.
Yeah.
Yep, could be.
No. Yeah, it's basically just gonna end up being what the time will tell, but there's definitely some potential bad side that could come with it. So you've gone to a couple local events. I unfortunately have not been able to go to any local events. I moved to the east side of the state, as you know, and with that, the local stores in the area, I've joined their Discord, and they haven't really gotten to the point where they're comfortable doing the events yet. They are gearing up for it. I appreciate them wanting to make sure that when they go through with this, that it's going to be the way that they want and not have any missteps, because they did have people pass away from it. So the
Right.
varying levels with that, I think is.
Yep.
Do you have any? Are you signed up for any bigger events coming up soon?
Not at the moment, no.
No. Okay.
Have
Yeah,
you
I
had
know
I think
chance
it's
to
just
see
a
it?
matter. I think it's just a matter of time before
Uh-huh.
I sign up for a bigger event again.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, we've kind of pulled the trigger on any and all events we could get our hands on.
Yep.
Not me.
Uh,
I haven't done many.
None.
None.
Just a few here and there.
Yeah, I haven't. No, I haven't done any paper tournaments yet, like big tournaments. I would never do them yet. Now in 4 days, that's another story. It's cool. It's cool. No, but yeah, and it's also the matter because I like finding the bigger tournaments in state right now or in far in between. Because, for example, like the tournament we're going to this weekend, we're driving 8.5 hours or whatever it is to go to a 2.5K event. Sure, the EV is not super high for it. It isn't even about the EV, honestly. The EV to me is getting the experience of playing a competitive paper tournament again. That's all the EV I actually needed. And same with the other one that we're doing. Like, I know we have like the little legacy one. That's a little bit different because there's actually EV attached to it. But in Michigan, I think the only event that I really seen was from Game On. Other than that, RIW just announced they're not going to be doing any in-store stuff still for the going forward right now. I don't know if you saw their post.
Yeah, and they're the other store that I'm near. That's why I haven't been able to go to any events. As opposed to like some of the stores in Grand Rapids where they're getting an insane amount of it. I'm like so jealous. I'm like, I wish I could go to a 40-person F&M right now.
Yeah, it's been sweet. It's been sweet, other than the fact there's no AC. So
Wait, they have no AC?
it kind of, yeah, pretty much. It was so hot in there yesterday, dude. It was disgusting.
Oh my gosh, I would
Nope, I'm good.
cry.
It was really miserable, dude. Like, it was literally cooler outside than it was in the building. Like, just totally ridiculous.
Hey guys, pause what we're doing. The Streamlabs froze.
Okay.
Oh,
It's like it's not like adding any time to it. It's not doing anything.
okay.
Alright, here we go. It looks like it's back and going. Thank God I have editing availability. But I might leave it in because I like the natural feel of these. But for those that got this, if we do keep it in, and those that hears the things, that's us being human and dealing with live technology. But yeah, like I said, the events are far in between. Like there's Jaren, you're more than welcome if we can make it happen. There's an event that's going to be over on July 31st, a modern little 1K event in Findlay, Ohio. That I'll be attending. I've already registered for it. You're more than welcome to make the trip too. If we can figure out a way to make it happen. Send the offer out now.
Yeah.
Piqued my interest.
Yep. Also, Jaren, you should join our Discord. Yeah, you should join the Discord and converse with us sometimes. It's always a
Send me
good
a link.
time. Oh,
Yeah.
Dewey
The
said he
Swish-
sent you one. Suspect.
Yeah, the Swish Discord is open to anyone that would like to join it. We have the general channels that anyone's allowed to access. You're able to talk about the different um, MTG threads. We have a channel dedicated for every format. We also have stuff expanding right now for Flesh and Blood, Pokemon. We're dipping into chess as well, Legends of Runeterra, and then we just have fun channels too. Like you can have your memes, or you're just posting pictures about your dogs. You're gonna see pictures of Winston, who's my new puppy. Um, so it's a great time. And then from there, we're looking at doing some other expansions with the Discord. So
Yep, Discords
Always-
are always fun. I like being able to just like have different like points of view, whether it's deck list feedbacks or hey, maybe this new card they just previewed is sweet. I know Jaren's
Or-
very big in the speculating on these new cards.
what's your? I know off topic as well because we're jumping from and we're supposed to be on the topic of the tournament scene. But what's your best paid off spec out of curiosity?
My best paid off spec.
Yeah.
One of them recently was Spiral Buff Canal, because Spiral Buff Canal is almost $40.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Just about.
30 to 40 right
I-
now.
I bought Japanese copies at $5 a piece.
Holy
Man.
moly. That's a kill. That's
Oh.
nice.
I just saw seasoned pyros are up to 50 a piece, right?
With that whole thing about he just purchased things, I gotta ask, your Teamer Luca deck, how pimped out is it?
So, I have Japanese promo, Mystical Disputes, promo Fatal Passages. The lands I think are unglued or unhinged.
Oh my god.
This deck list sounds sexy.
Mm.
I have
As Jaren would call
Japanese
it,
adventure cards. The Triomes are Japanese alt art. The Brazen Borrowers are showcase Japanese. By the way, that card spiked too. That card's almost $50.
What is
Yeah, the whole deck is pimped out.
Awesome. Almost $50?
The showcase Brazen Borrowers.
Oh, I thought you meant
Oh,
the
that's
regular Brazen Borrowers. I was gonna be like, Dewey, I lost yours.
It's so weird. I thought they were here, and all of a sudden they aren't.
You can have your dual lands back. I want these.
It's savage.
Savage is not offering to drive out here to give me 2 lands. Just saying.
To be fair, I thought you had them.
To be fair, that's Nate's fault.
Okay, I'm fine with blaming Nate.
Yeah, let's do this. Nate, you suck. If you listen, you suck. No, but I do like seeing Jaren's post about pimped out cards because I love foreign cards, and then he always gets some cool foreign cards. So I'm all in for that.
Good to know.
Yep. But in addition to that, we'll try to steer back on topic a little bit. We're talking about transitioning back to paper Magic.
Yeah.
I'm speculating that Star City Games is going to be returning in the fall. I think that's just a matter of time, and then NRG is supposed to be returning. I mean, let me rephrase it. I expect Star City Games at the beginning of the year. But
I was gonna say, like, I don't know if it's really worth it for them to do the start of their tournament series in the fall.
No. I misspoke. NRG previously mentioned like a month or so ago that they are in process of getting their paper tournament circuit back going, and they were looking at a target in the fall.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah, I got a little tongue twisted on that, but I am excited because NRG I think is like for Swish Gaming for us that is like our number one circuit. Obviously we do others because we're degens. Now I signed up for 4 Flesh and Blood tournaments without even knowing how to play the game, so I don't think there gets more degen than that. But I'm very excited for the NRG. Jaren, will you do some of the NRG events when they come back?
I have never done NRG events, but I am definitely looking forward to diving straight in per se. Another one I'm definitely looking forward to doing is I've done inside events online, but I want to do them on paper now, and I think Vegas is going to happen in the fall.
Cool.
Yep, I did notice that. I love the inside events, but their payouts need to be fixed. I still haven't been paid out. It is
So you might want
brutal.
to message somebody about that.
Yeah.
Like it
No,
takes
but
forever to get paid out, man.
I think it's something like what 60 days or something.
Yeah, it's horrendous. It's why I actually stopped doing the events. I was like, honestly, how long can you keep the train going if you're not getting paid out?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
just because what I like doing is I like taking payouts and I like letting it ride kind of thing.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
what I would do with Star City or NRG. Is I'd be like, let it ride, and then this you can't. Like, can we get an option that some of the events can be done in like credit to go towards other events? Like,
You would
That'd
think
be
so
dope.
because that would just. I'm a big fan of credit as a whole,
Like-
and like
how
any
NRG.
yeah, like any organization that doesn't let you turn winnings into credit is just losing tons of money, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I'm going on a large tangent for that. That's not needed right now,
Right.
and so it's it is an unfortunate thing because it really will burden their tournament series if they're not letting people do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and that was just like my biggest thing is, I'd like it, and they want to do events like 7 days a week, but I'm not. I could afford it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to have to like have a budget and to like my monthly budgets be like, all right, car insurance, entry fees, this like when there's like it's just a straight bill at that point with nothing like going back into it if I'm not getting paid out for like 2 months at a time.
Yeah, I mean that's the nature of it as grinders. We do expect a certain level of performance, and with that, it comes with a certain level of return.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't expect to make a living, but I'd like to have some of my events be able to be free rolled because I did okay
Mhm.
in an event here and there. I don't want to like it's just a lot, and especially when their events on the weekend are what like 25-30 bucks. Like it's not an I'm not saying it's an unreasonable amount for the events. It's just the payout structure of being 2 months after the events when you get paid out. I've seen people that's got just finally getting paid out this week from April, and I'm like, bro.
Jesus.
I'm like,
April,
yeah, and I'm like, whoa, they gotta get that adjusted or they're not gonna survive.
Mm-hmm.
Because paper's
not
gonna
at
be
all.
worse. Because the overhead to go to these tournaments is worse.
Mm-hmm.
outside of their payout, they are running their tournaments very well, though, from what I'm hearing, right?
I will
Mhm.
agree there.
Yes.
I do think they run very good events. Jaren, have you done many of the inside events?
Yeah, I've done them. They run pretty well.
Yeah, I
They run pretty
100%.
well.
I've sat down and talked to the lead guy from Insight because he's had me come on for an interview and stuff, and we sat there and just conversed for about 15 minutes after the interview, and he was telling me some stuff that I wouldn't tell him. I told him I wouldn't tell. He told me some of the plans they have coming up, and just of that nature. And it sounds like they have a really good thing, and I get it. It's their sponsors is why they do the payouts like that, so they don't have
Mhm.
like full control on it. But they got to just like express to those sponsors, like, hey, you won't be sponsoring anything because we won't have a player base if we don't fix this. Like, because they could have a very good potential, especially because the Grand Prix system's up in the air right now. There's
Right.
there is a void that could be filled with right now, and that could be Inside and SCG running the realms. Because I don't think Energy's there yet. I don't think they're trying to either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think to some extent, I think they might be trying to get there. You're right that they're not quite there yet. They are still a smaller scene. I mean, I would put NRG and Insight on the same tier at this point, with NRG having a little bit more experience, obviously, on this.
Yeah, I'll agree there. Like Energy's like their reason that like even their payout's not bad. It's like usually takes like 2 weeks, and it's not too bad. Now, if we're gonna talk about Portland while we have on the topic, it won't go on tangent too long. But when we're talking about because we're transitioning back to paper and we're eventually gonna be transitioning back to Star City, I hope to the magic gods that they figure out that paper check is not needed in 2021, and they can do a PayPal payout option. Cause I hate that paper check stuff Star City does.
So I will say that I totally get that because I do also. I mean, I literally have a checkbook, and the checkbook is for prior to moving into the house here was just for my landlord. And I worked for my own company, and I still only gave them a check because I didn't want to pay a fee,
Mm-hmm.
that's not uncommon apparently. But the only issue I have if they were to go to the purely electronic payment structure is I know that for some people, money and PayPal accounts can get tied up. They can just pause your account whenever they feel like it. If they feel like anything suspicious is going on, they could just put a huge pause in your account, and that would be my only worry on it. But I believe I do agree with you that it would be better overall because it's going to help with people that do things internationally. It's going to help with people that are in like more rural areas, and checks could take them a very long time. It could help with people that are in the middle of transitioning from place to place, and they're going to have access to their PayPal no matter what.
And like I wasn't saying to get rid of checks and please. So they've been using PayPal payout through the pandemic,
For
I
online?
believe. Yeah, for their
Yeah.
online stuff. What I am suggesting that I would like to see them do is to give the option, even if that means like, hey, if you want the PayPal option, there's like going to be a little charge. Let's say
It really should be the other way. It really should be
Really?
the other
Oh.
way. Yeah. If you think about it, if you write a check, if I
Mhm.
have to write a check, okay, it may seem minor, but I have to have a check writing items. Checks have to be on special check paper. It has to be enveloped. It has to be postage. Someone has to sign it. It has to be sent out. All of that takes time and effort.
Mm-hmm.
What they should do if they want to push for PayPal is we recommend you take the PayPal option. It will say if you take the check route, we're going to start charging you X dollar fee.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at least that's the normal case. They push the online thing because it saves them money. But yeah, it will depend on. I don't know how that all plays out because they have to track it.
Right.
So
No, it makes sense. For sure. Jaren, we're returning the paper and we're gonna be doing the Star City events and all that. What would you prefer for a payout if it was up to you?
I'm fine with either or.
Either or, you're just casual with it when it comes to how the payout. You're like, as long as I'm paid, I'm Gucci.
Yep, as long as I'm paid.
Right. How about you, Steven?
Yeah, I don't care either way as long as the pay shows up.
Okay. That like I said, that's very reasonable. As long as everybody has their preference. Like I said, I'm a PayPal person. I just like you to just send it, and I don't have to do any extra work. Like.
Yeah.
But getting back onto talking about the paper magic returning, we've been in the pandemic for a year and a half, give or take, probably take. I don't think it's been a complete year and a half, but anywho, Jaren, I've been noticing we were touching on it a little bit. How many cards would you say that you got that's going to be standard legal for post rotation?
Probably well over at least 200.
Okay, so you're geared for the rotation in the fall. Now,
Yeah,
are
I got,
you
got all
excited
my lands
for
and
it?
everything. What'd you say?
Are you excited, or are you going to be sad to miss those adventure creatures?
I'm gonna be sad because, like, in a sense, because like some of those adventure creatures have got me through like multiple tournaments,
Mm-hmm.
especially Edgewall Innkeeper on turn one, or Love create a token with Love Struck Beast on turn one, turn two hold up, either hold up Brazen Borrower or Bone Crusher. Turn three or four, I'm either slamming a creature or holding up till turn four, so I can do Edgewall Innkeeper and Love Struck Beast and draw a card. Then on the other hand, I'm going to be happy because Throne is rotating, and Throne is disgustingly powerful.
Yes, Throne was something else. I don't
I'm-
even know what
I'm-
to say about it.
yeah, I'm actually just super excited for the format to rotate for standard because I've been mainly playing modern when I got back into playing Magic years back, and after selling out. And this last year, obviously, the four of us have been playing an insane amount of historic, and standard. And I'm so bored of every deck just being an adventure deck, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it is a big issue. Um, I know a lot of people are excited for rotation. I'm also not excited about the set that's about to be released in a couple days on Arena, but that's not a topic we need to really get into right now.
Right.
That's another day.
Yeah, that's another whole episode. I can go on my tangent, and I have good reasons why, which I can again go into on another point. But we only have a few minutes left for this main topic segment. So, Jaren, was there anything else you wanted to touch on about returning the paper?
Other than be mindful as we return the paper. Be mindful of your opponents and watch what they're doing, because not everyone wants to keep it 100.
Yep.
In addition to that, I would recommend people play in paper because triggers, they're not always a guarantee when it comes to paper Magic. Like Modal and
Exactly.
Arena has turned us all lazy.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you
make sure
should
you reveal a companion if you have one. I actually I missed that a couple times at FNM. It didn't matter at FNM, but it'll matter in a tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely
Exactly.
recommend people go play their FNM tournaments or their local tournaments for a few times before they even step foot in a big event, because
Exactly.
otherwise they're gonna have a real bad time.
And if you see Steven with crutches come Monday, it's because he forgot to reveal Loris and it cost us top 8.
Yep.
No, but all jokes aside, yeah, like the transition to paper, we're almost there. Where tournaments are FNM style tournaments are already back. We'll be back to the grind for everyone that wants to take part of that Magic grind. I know there's a lot of controversy going out on the Twitterverse with competitive players and EDH players all at war right now. But again, not a topic I really want to dig into ever. Everybody can have their right to an opinion on it. But just know, play Magic however you enjoy it. And if you're ready for paper to return to do these tournaments, do what you need to do to make sure that happens. You know, at the end of the day, this is a game. Let's have some fun.
Yep.
But before we wrap it all up with you, Jaren, I like to ask a question with every single guest that we have on. But before I ask that question, Steven and Dewey, was there anything else you want to dig in with Jaren before we go into that?
No, I don't think so.
Nope, not here. I just really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it
Thank
as well,
you.
Jaren. We'll definitely have to bring you back on in the future so we can touch on some other topics. Maybe after like Star City's back and we do some events together or something. That'd be a good time.
Right?
Yeah, we could definitely be like, how does it feel after you've done some big competitive paper tournaments? Has it felt good? Same. Oh, maybe we'll get you on for the rotation episode in the fall. Be like, and
I'm
then
down.
we can have our we're gonna have a celebratory podcast where our podcast we're gonna record it right at midnight for when the rotation happens. We can all celebrate. We'll pop some bubbly.
I'm in. I am in.
Mhm.
Good riddance, innkeeper. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, we should have a memorial for him.
Oh, I can make a funny memorial video. We can post. I am so
As you
in.
are innkeeper, I hardly knew thee.
Yo, I'll even do that in the Arms of an Angel song by that they use for the dogs.
Mhm.
Ooh, we can give it a Viking funeral too. Get a few copies and burn it in a pyre.
Yo, I think it'd be nice. Yo, we could have some fun with this.
Oh man.
That would be a fun episode we'll have to do together for sure. But yeah, the last question I'd like to ask is yeah, Jaren, everybody talks about the Mount Rushmore of sports, the Mount Rushmore of musicians. If you can make a Mount Rushmore of Magic cards that you think are the most iconic to you, whether they're just so good or they're just your favorite cards, what would be how many people's on Mount Rushmore? I forget now.
God damn.
Be a four.
Four, dude.
Yeah, name 4 cards. I told you I'm old.
Oh, this is a good one. Stormbreath Dragon. Yeah, Stormbreath Dragon. Chandra Torture Defiance.
Okay.
Attune with Ether,
Okay.
and Dig Through Time.
Okay.
Nice. Nice.
Um,
I was wondering if they were all going to be red for a minute.
Yeah, me too. Now, I want you to take like 30 seconds on each one and tell us why you picked each one of them. Just curious, like, was it because they were your favorite, or if they were just something super busted at the time?
Stormbreath Dragon because it helped me get my first PTQ top 8.
Nice.
Chandra Torture Defiance because during that time I played a bunch of PTQs with Teamer Energy, and like 3 of them, like 3 out of 5, I topped 8. Dig Through Time because it was one of my favorite cards that actually got banned, and I actually enjoyed playing that card. And Attune with Ether, the same reason because it helped guide me through 3 out of 5 top 8 PTQs.
Okay, that's very good reason to have that top 5. If it's helping you achieve your goal of top 8ing and getting close to that Pro Tour qualifier or whatever, that's a good reason that they should be on your Mount Rushmore, because they're going to be the stepping stone to getting there. But yeah, if like I said, Jaren, we do appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely bring you back on. You have a good following. If and for those that are listening, Jaren, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at JAYWMTG.
Okay, we'll definitely put that in the description on the YouTube page as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, we want to thank everyone for listening. This has been Larry, Dewey, and Steven here with Talking Swish interview time. And over here we've had Jaren White again. And definitely go and follow him on Twitter. He has 1 million followers, it feels like at this point, but he definitely will have time for more. Ain't that right, Jaren?
Yes, I will. Always.
All right. Well, yeah, we will catch you all next week.